is crooks in your castle, then it's nights full of battles. Some fight with the barrel, that's eagles versus vultures, and olives versus arrows. Carhartt apparel, harrowed by the pharaohs who travel through the narrow.
What's really good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Chef. I'm super excited for this one because I got a king in the building, Mr. Justin Schmit. How are you?
No, not too bad. How about yourself?
Man, I'm all right. I was like, I'm getting into. See, I like Ice Wars for a few years, and I'm actually like now it's a little tougher because I'm trying to cover it. So as a fan, it's like you're trying to learn more. So when you talk it makes sense. So I was like, all right, it's a transition, but this is where I'm having fun because now I get to reach out to you guys and try to pick your brains. So the first question, obviously, I think is the question everybody wants to know about somebody is when did hockey become into your life?
I was before, like as long as I can remember, I think my earliest memory was probably putting my skates on in my grandmother's kitchen and tearing up her linoleum when I was about 2 years old. So
okay, so way back.
It's been a part of my life, like I said, as far back as I can remember. It was kind of all I really wanted to do, even in school, it was just like I would just get through the day in school so I could get home and put my skates on and go play on the pond or on the outdoor rink or play street hockey or whatever the case,
See, I think that's the cool thing because like growing up, I played basketball and football all the time, and then a kid moved into the neighborhood, and he was like big into hockey, and hockey was kind of foreign to me. I was like, I'm from the city, so I'm like, all right, basketball and football, but he was like, yo, you got to come out, like you can skate. We skate together. Obviously roller skating and playing hockey is two different things. The speed of the game was incredible. Like I said, I didn't play hockey at any kind of level, like little leagues and street hockey and stuff. But, I was big into like Lemieux and Yager and Messier and all those guys. Is there a player that when you were young that you sat back and was like, damn, this is the guy I want to play like and kind of model your game?
I think when I was young, like when I was a real little kid, I was a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. So Mario Lemieux was definitely, the guy for me when I was a little kid. And I remember when I was 5 or 6 and I wrote him a letter and he sent me back an autograph, 8x10 of himself. And that was pretty special. Yeah, Mario Lemieux was like as a young kid. And then I think as I got older and I started gravitating more towards, the tough guys, but Bob Probert was the guy. It was like, that was Bob Probert was, in my opinion, still probably the toughest guy that ever played in the NHL. And I really looked up to him a lot. Lyle Odeline played for the Montreal Canadiens, who's a tough defenseman. I really looked up to him. But yeah, like the older I got and the more my game transitioned to a more physical role, I definitely started to pay closer attention to the tough guys, Tony Twist and Kelly Chase and all those real tough guys in the 90s,
See, I think that's where like I kind of got into it too because when I was going to Ranger games at the Garden, like Ty Domi, to me, him and Ken Danigo from New Jersey, they were like the guys that I seen daily because those are the games I went to, and I was like, man, hockey is so different because you see the element of the speed and athleticism where guys are moving around, deking hits, and you see those guys, and it was like they understood their game was I'm just going to punish you. Like there's levels to that defensive mind where you can come in here, but once you come across that blue line, like we're going to put the beats on you. So I love the defensive game. I think defense wins champions. I always say that. Now I see that you take the number 18 pretty much always. I know you got a few different numbers, but the number 18, what's that? Is that just a number that you've taken for you,
Yeah.
or is it something that
No, I think I was always a guy. It never ever really occurred to me, what number was on my back. And then I
wow.
think, and then yeah, the few times I did end up getting 18, I think early on, wherever I was, it was like I said, it was never, everybody was, I had to have this number, have to have this number. It was never anything for me. And then, yeah, the few good, I had a few good seasons wearing it. And then, if I'd go somewhere and 18 was available, I'd wear it. But I've wore so many numbers. I wore 34. I wore 51 this year. Shoot, yeah, no, numbers have never even really applied to me. It was always, I played for the crest on the front, and whatever was on my back was pretty irrelevant.
See, and it's funny because my first coach, like, I was an egotistical kid. I jumped real high, was really fast. So I always felt I was like better and everything. And he humbled me quick. I'll admit that. He was an older guy, and he let me know that I'm not that guy. But it's like, to me, I always kept my number 21. I got it tattooed on my body. So now I'm starting to think like I'm like this weirdo who has this loyalty to this number that every athlete I've talked to, they're like, nah, it's pretty much just a number. Like, whatever we get, we get. But the one thing my coach always said was, the name on the front is what matters, not the name on the back. And it's like you said about the crest. And it's something that I learned that I loved it. I love him for it. My man, Coach Russell, God bless the dead. Teaching me that always let me know, because at one point when I started coaching, I didn't give the kids names on the backs because I wanted them to understand what they were all playing for, that unity. So that's super dope. I love that. Ice Wars. How did Ice Wars come into the whole, from hockey to Ice Wars? It's the fighting obviously is different as well.
Yeah, there's been, they've done it a few times. They had a tournament in Prince George, BC in 2004, I think it was. I was still in junior then, and there was a lot of minor league tough guys that competed on it, and I tried like hell to get onto it, but I never got accepted onto it. And it was always like, even by that point, I was 18 years old, and I kind of knew that that fighting was probably going to be my ticket to having a hockey career. And I was like, if I can get on that show and compete on it, it'll probably do wonders for me. I never got onto it. And then about 10 years later, I think I was playing in Tulsa in the Central League, and they put on a show over in Finland. And I got onto it. There's a bunch of tough guys that fought on that. Derek Parker ended up winning it. But so I got onto the show as an 8-man tournament over in Finland, and I took an MMA fight like 2 weeks beforehand, to just kind of work, because it was like late. I think it was in September, so it was late in the off season. I was like, I haven't had many fights in the last 5 or 6 months, so I was like, I'm going to take an MMA fight just to knock the rust off. And really wasn't all that prepared. I had a couple MMA fights before that, but I wasn't prepared. I ended up getting knocked out like cold 36 seconds in. It was right when like YouTube was starting to come out, and the promoter over in Finland found out that I'd got knocked out, and they ended up scratching me off the card, which is probably in hindsight, it was probably the best thing for me. In a lot of ways, just for my my mentality, never, no fight's an easy fight. I think I've lost more fights going in thinking I'm gonna kick the shit out of a guy than when I'm going in. I think the older I get, the more respect I have for everybody. Anybody can beat anyone on any given night. So it was I was pretty disappointed about that. And then I guess it would have been 2021, like late 2021. AJ and myself started talking about, he was putting together this tournament, this Ice Wars show. And I'd been having a good year up to that point. I had a lot of majors, and I was getting some media attention from some of these fights I'd had that season. I was in Columbus, and the first show went off really well. That was the one that Amesy ended up winning. And then it was in August, the second show, and I went up to Edmonton and had some success, and ended up winning the show. And it was really special. And it probably, over the last few years, it was definitely kind of, the pinnacle of, the last few years, 3 seasons after I battled with injuries and got traded around quite a bit. And it was kind of, I wasn't sure what direction I was going to go. And then I ended up coming to Quebec here in December and signed a contract here in Quebec, and had quite a few scraps, and we had a pretty good squad. And we ended up winning our league on Saturday night in game 6. And it was, it was really definitely, now the highlight of anything I've ever done athletically, is being able to win that on Saturday.
See, and I think a lot of people, I don't think a lot of fans understand the level of what you guys are putting in. And I'm not even talking about the whole season, playing through injuries, playing through fatigue, trying to adjust. Just the level of dedication that you guys put in to go into a whole season. Like, it's insane. Like I said, I played basketball and football. I've won. But, like, you sit back and people think, oh, man, why don't this guy play this day, or why this person plays like this? You got to, people understand it's a long season. And hockey, and I keep saying this, and I did not play hockey. Like I said, hockey to me is still the last tough sport in all the sports, right? Like, every other sport has been watered down and become soft. Hockey is still that old school, we're going to just smash into each other, play the game. But and congratulations, because winning a championship is it's the ultimate pinnacle. Having your experience in Ice Wars, and Ice Wars now partner up with BKFC, is it something that you're like, you know what, I want to test the waters in Ice Wars again? And because right now the card is looking really good, especially for Team Canada. And I'm American. I'm just being honest. Right now, Team Canada looks like they're going to come in and beat the shit out of America. But is it something that you're looking into, or? And I don't want to ask if you got the call.
It's always, it's always intriguing. Like I said, right now I'm just trying to catch my breath after the season, to be honest with you. And there's definitely some nagging injuries that are going to take some time. Yeah, like I said, I've talked to AJ, weekly, and we haven't even discussed anything like that right now. Like I said, for me right now, this is the first off season I've really had. Like, I rodeo full time in the summertime too, so this is the first summer where I'm just, gonna try and just take some time to recover. And I'll be 40 in July, so I think my body finally deserves an off season. I mean, it's always going to be intriguing to me. I know, my last boxing match was 2019, but I was always pretty captivated by bare knuckle fighting, and there was times that I had strongly considered making a transition to bare knuckle boxing. But yeah, as of right now, there's nothing really on the agenda, or nothing pressing. I'm going to enjoy this championship and this feeling, and heal my body up a little bit, and hopefully can play another few more seasons of professional hockey.
See, I give you so much respect, because I'm 45, right? I'm also a Cancer. My birthday's in July. But I don't even know how you're playing at this level. Like, all the years you played in your body, because the older we get, the the more every injury takes forever to heal, and it's super nagging. So I give him so much respect because late in my 30s, I'm like, you know what? I'm done with sports, and I am not doing this no more. I'm just gonna do the dad and the husband thing. But it's incredible to me that you're playing at such a high level, and honestly, I would love to see you transition into that BKFC thing because, I mean, you got massive skills, and I just think that hockey players have that grit, especially like the defensive guys. Where I tell people in BKFC, you got to be a dog. I don't care if you come from UFC or boxing. It's different when you get punched in the face with bare hands. And being a hockey player, you always get punched in the face with bare hands. It's not something that you're afraid of. Or when that hit comes to you, you're like, whoa, that was a crazy shot. So I think that you'd be like the perfect specimen to be in BKFC.
Yeah, like Mike Tyson always said, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face, and getting hit with bare knuckles is definitely I've been hit with 4-ounce gloves, been hit with 8-ounce gloves. I think getting hit with bare knuckles, the cosmetic damage is a lot worse. You get hit and you see blood, and it's like, oh, this could be bad. But to be honest with you, like I think getting hit with a boxing glove probably hurts more. Like it's actually like you feel it a lot more, and it's when you get hit with a boxing glove. I feel when you get hit with bare knuckles, there's you're going to get sliced up a lot more, and there's going to be a lot more blood. But I think the like solid impact definitely you feel from an 8-ounce boxing glove, or even a 4-ounce MMA glove.
Damn. Wow. Okay. And it makes sense. Like I've never even thought of it like that. But is there going to be a point, like, because obviously you're going to enjoy your off season, and I'm pretty sure, like, depending on how you feel, you might be like, I don't know, maybe this is coming to that end. Is it like where you might think about coaching or something like that, like just to stay involved in the game?
Yeah. I mean, I've never really done much else in my life. So, for me to be able to transition into coaching, I mean, I'm slowly taking the steps to do that just so I can set myself up for life after I'm done playing. But, until, I always say, like, until my desire to play overlaps, my the pain and the, what I go through in the morning, I'm going to keep playing as long as I can. And as long as I still love it as much as I do, I'm going to keep playing, or as long as I have somewhere to play. But, I think just, especially these young guys coming up, I don't know when it like happened. It happened like kind of gradually, but I think like a lot of young players coming up are a lot more, they seem like they're a lot more selfish, and they're a lot more about themselves. And that wasn't the way I was raised. And that, like coming up, I had so many good veteran players that looked after me coming up, and these guys were the ultimate team guys. And I think, we being a part of a championship this year, and like everybody was willing to take whatever role necessary for us to have success. And I think, like hockey's a pretty simple game, like there's no great mastermind. Like it's not like one guy's hands and feet so much more, like some kind of, wizard as far as the X's and O's of the game. But I think to hopefully, pass on that passion for competing and passion for being on a team. I've always said, if you want to play an individual sport, play an individual sport. Like if playing hockey is about your points and your accolades and your individual awards, then then do something else, you know, because it's the ultimate team game. And I think, you know, for guys coming up, if they want to progress to the next level, nobody at the next level cares about guys' stats. They care about, you know, what they can bring to make that organization better. And I think, you know, I definitely can, you know, maybe help, you know, instill those values in young players as a coach, you know?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, because like, I mean, like I said, I'm a little older than you, but it's something that my coaches have always like instilled. And the difference was with someone like me who, like I said, I didn't play hockey, but I was like 14, 15, and I was playing in a 21 and over league. And, you know, I had to sign waivers and stuff, but all the older guys, they protected the shit out of me because they knew, you know, these older guys, they don't want to see a young guy flying around trying to talk shit. So I took a lot of abuse, but they protected me. And the knowledge that I learned from the older guys, especially my guy LJ, it's like he taught me not only about the game, but like life. Like he was that veteran guy that kind of took me under his wing and told me, look, this is what's going to happen. He was teaching me how to break down defenses, what we're going to see. And now young guys, when it comes to it, like I've talked to young guys and they're like, oh, but you're old head. You don't understand. Like the game is different. But it's like, yo, if you're not prepared to learn, then I don't know why you're playing competitive sports anyway. Like there's always someone who knows more than you. And if you want your game to evolve, you should be listening to other people. A lot of these young people, they come in thinking they know everything, you know, like, so I think that it's a shame because the game needs guys like you. The game needs, you know, these real veterans that actually care and they're still passionate and they want to spread that information and love. And listen, I think it was this 2000s era, and I don't want to be that guy, but I don't know. I think it's Gen Z or whatever their names are. I can't stand them. They cry. They're sensitive. I mean, they flop around like little suckers. My bad. I'm getting in my feelings because I can't stand
No, that's,
but, you know.
Yeah, and then, you know, like I said, I don't know what the catalyst was to change that, but it seems like it's almost like a global pandemic, this me first mentality amongst, you know, everyone, you know. And like my humble experience on this planet is, you know, nobody gets through it alone, you know. Anybody that thinks they're a self-made man, I'm sure, you know, their mom could disagree with them or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, you know, it's for me, it's just all about, it's always been about the journey and always been about, you know, helping, whether it's my teammates or my neighbor or whatever, you know. And like I said, the only way to really see change is to be the change. And I guess, you know, I'm just going to keep my head down and, you know, keep trying to be a positive person and make a positive impact on people's lives, you know, on and off the ice, you know.
Yeah. See, and I think that's where, like, I remember my first championship, and I remember that clock going down. And the first thing I remember, and I'll never forget it, you know, my first one was 95. I just remember looking at everybody jumping around, everybody going crazy, everybody hugging. I was like, yo, this is the greatest feeling because everybody feels like brothers, you know, like it's a family. We won together. And now it kind of just seems like people don't even care about the championships. Like you said, it's how many goals do I get? Do I lead an assist or whatever? Everything is just me. And I think that takes away because we're all out here as a family trying to win something together. The ultimate prize is the championship. And it's not you trying to be an MVP or whatever. So I got to ask you about the rodeo because, like, I've been to one. Like I said, I moved to a small town out here, and we were driving. I seen those things for rodeo. I'm from New York. I'd never been to a rodeo before in my life, so I'm like, I gotta go. Me, my wife, my sons, we went. It was the wildest thing because these horses, these bulls, they're like, obviously I've seen them. I've been to a zoo, you know, like I know how big they are. But when you're standing there, you're watching grown men being chased by a bull to get attention away from a rider. You're like, how? Like, what goes through your mind that this is all right? I got this.
I guess, you know, like I said, it just goes back to that one to help people. I mean, being a bullfighter, you're the ultimate protector. And like if you can take a shot for a bull rider when he's on the ground and he can get down the road to his next rodeo and he can he can keep putting food on the table for his family, that's kind of the ultimate teammate, I guess, would be a bullfighter. I was lucky. I got started fighting bulls late. But like a couple of my best buddies are some of the best bullfighters in Canada. And it was always something, I was always kind of around it. And then I started fighting bulls, just helping out here and there in the practice pen, and I had a little bit of success with it, and I started getting hired, and then I ended up going down south in rodeo, and I lived in Arkansas for an off season, and I was traveled quite a bit around the south fighting bulls. I was in California, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, all over the south. Like I said, I this off season, I don't think I'm going to be too active. Just like I said, right now, if I'm going to be able to put the best version of myself on the ice in September, I need a little bit of time just to decompress from this season and heal up a bit. But I definitely don't have any, I don't have any ambition to stop rodeoing ever either.
That's insane. That's like, you see it on TV and you're like, hey, this is wild. But when you see it in person, I don't know if it's me, but the speed seems so much faster in your eyes versus on TV. I guess maybe because it's right in front of you, but like I think that I'd be so nervous. My heart would be, pumping out my chest because it's intense. And I mean, if you look at the level of the people on the I guess the dirt or whatever, like nobody seems like, you guys don't seem phased. It seems like, and I know it might be a job and you're used to it or whatever, but I don't think I would ever be able to get used to a big ass animal running towards me. It looks like everybody's on this, like your heartbeat ain't pumping 1,000 miles an hour neither.
No, growing up around livestock, you kind of learn you learn how they think a little bit, and you learn to anticipate what they're going to do, and you look for certain mannerisms and stuff as to how the animal's gonna react. It can get real stressful at times, like especially if the ground's not good, if you're in real deep mud and you're kind of bogged down there in 4-wheel drive, and they weigh 2,000 pounds in 4-wheel drive, and we're 100, 200 pound people in 2-wheel drive. That can get stressful. Or if a bull rider's knocked out, and he's laid out there, and you really gotta go to work sometimes keeping that bull off of him so that the paramedics can do their job sometimes, and that then it gets real hairy at times. But for the most part, those bulls just, they might run into something in front of them if it's, within their eyesight. But for the most part, 85, 90% of them aren't going to go out hunting for you, So
yeah,
if it's right there and available, they're going to give it a shot. But
for sure. So listen, I try to keep everybody like a half hour because I know everybody's busy and all that. So I think my last question, legacy wise, like when people say Justin Schmit, what do you want people to like put the word behind your name? Like, what's the legacy you're trying to leave?
Probably just that I was a good teammate, and that I treated everybody really well, whether it was fans, coaches, teammates, even my opponents. Like I think I was always pretty serious competitor, but I don't think I ever was. I might have been a prick to play against, but I don't think I was ever disrespectful. But yeah, I think just, I think when it's all said and done, I think, I want people to always think of me as a good teammate.
No, that's awesome. And like I said, when you say people might look at you as a prick to play against, but if somebody's not giving me that like all that energy and trying to make sure I don't win. Like I really don't want to play against a team that they're not trying to make sure I lose. I win. You know what I mean? Like I want the best competitive every single time I touch the floor. And if someone's giving me that, I'll give them that respect all the time. Honored, grateful, all that. Like I appreciate everything. I know you got a brand, so plug anything you want to plug, and we'll be out of here.
Oh yeah, just like I said, people can follow me on Instagram. I think it's Jay Schmitty Fighter on Instagram and Justin Schmidt on Facebook. I'm not really that handy when it comes to technology or social media. So yeah, people can kind of try and keep up to date with what's going on in my life that way.
Yeah, I'm the same. I have my son who pretty much edits stuff, and he does his best to figure this out. He's 18. He's like, yo, you just record stuff or do stuff, and I'll do the rest. I'm like, appreciate it, because I am so lost when it comes to social media and everything. I'm on the wrong side of 40, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm before there was an AOL. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a different world for sure.
So listen, like I said, I respect everything. You're an unbelievable person. Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we out of here. Deuces.
Thanks so